Hello, and today I want to talk about the recent announcement from Meta that they are going to control information less and to allow more freedom of speech. People could say exactly what they say, exactly what they believe. So there's the sandwich method where you say something good, something bad, and something good. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to start with something bad, then say something not so bad, and then say something bad again. So let's start with the question about information. Freedom of speech sounds wonderful. How can somebody say freedom of speech is not bad? Well, it turns out there's lots of things out there. Sometimes freedom of speech is great. Sometimes it creates lots of damage. We have to think about the benefits for when it's good, the damage when it's bad. And one of the things that people don't understand about the damage is that inaccurate information is more like corrosive information. When we use the term misinformation or disinformation, we can say, somebody got wrong information, they'll get the right information, and it will be fixed. Not so much. For the last quite a few years, I've been investigating this phenomena. I wrote a book called Misbelief about my adventures with misbelievers, people who thought that I helped bring about COVID. But in the book, I try to very carefully analyze the psychology of the kind, wonderful people who got completely influenced by information and started believing all kinds of things. On a personal level, I got death threats, people burned my books, things like that. But the tragedy that happened to those people that were exposed to that information and it changed them to the core is a real tragedy. So the first thing is, I think that we talk about freedom of information and we talk about information, we don't understand how much damage the wrong information can create to people. And we're not taking this into account sufficiently. So that's on the bad thing. Now, moving to something not that bad. It turned out that Facebook never did a particularly good job in blocking this. I can't tell you the amount of accusations against me that came from Facebook. It came from other places too. It came from WhatsApp, it came from Telegram, it came from other platforms. But Facebook was not a platform that you said, they were doing such a good job that before that it was a perfect world and now they're going to change it. They were really unwilling. And the reality is that they did not fight it that seriously all along. Sometimes they would have a banner say, this is not been verified as a truth. But the fact is that the misbelievers use that as a badge of honor. Say, where's my banner for the things I'm performing? So bad, corrosive information creating tremendous damage to people. One more thing on that, I met a woman recently who was in these misbelievers. She started losing her trust in health. She's now diagnosed with cancer. She's refusing treatment because, after all, pharma companies have a better treatment for cancer, and chemotherapy is not that. I suspect this will cost her life. One example, but there's really bad things about this information, how it changes people. Then not so bad because they never did a particularly good job. But now, what is the really bad thing? So in Misbelief, I analyze the influence of information on us in turning out from believing in things that are mostly true to believing in things that are very, very harmful for us and for society. And I analyzed as a function of stress, the emotional system, cognition, personality, and social. And social is not just social media, but it's about the connections we make and the people that we surround ourselves with. And of course, we are in a period of very high stress. So if you ask me when in time was a bad idea to make corrosive information more common, this is exactly the time when stress is very high. Stress about the economy, stress about AI, stress about the Middle East, stress about Iran, stress about immigration. Every time you have stress, information can start derail. People are wondering what is going on around them, and they're more likely to go down a very unhealthy path. Personality has not changed, and the cognitive things have not changed, but to some degree, I worry more about Facebook than X or Twitter. And the reason is that the social mechanism, right? If we said it's emotion and stress, personality, cognitive and social, Facebook is a real social network. It has people that you know and you like. People talk about their personal things. They share information. It's less of an information exchange, and it's very much a social exchange. It's where people can get support. When people can get form long-term relationship. So if I think about this mechanism that gets standard people to start believing alternative realities, believe them very deeply, lose their trust in society and so on, I think Facebook has a potential for a much larger harm than a platform like X, because they are built on social. Because when people start exploring alternative views of reality and they get rejected by their friends and family, for example, they can find a community on Facebook. That community can support them. So anyway, I do worry. I worry that from all the platforms that can stop moderating information and stop caring about whether something is true or not, Facebook can have the largest downside on that. And finally, just a thought. Freedom of information is important. Freedom of expression is important. All else being equal, those are great things. I think as a society we have realized that those things sometimes have very large costs. We don't let a person shout fire in the middle of a theater under the pretense that this is freedom of speech. But I think that's a very clear case. What about convincing people that COVID was a hoax and that chemotherapy doesn't work? Where does this fall? I think we need many more rules about that. We need to understand the damage. I think that everything in life we should look at as what's the thing it gives us, what's the thing it takes away from us. And when it comes to information, I don't think we've figured it out. I think actually we're very far away from understanding what freedom of speech is giving us, outside of the ideology and so on, and what is it taking away from us in all kinds of nuances. What is it taking from us in the world of financial decision making? I see all kinds of strange recommendations for financial investing. What is it doing for us in health? What is it doing for us in the domain of relationship? I mean, we just have to explore that in a deep, serious way before we have an ideology. Freedom of speech. All else being equal, freedom of speech. When it costs us much more than we get from it, maybe we should reconsider. And one last thought. Let's say freedom of speech is good. It is good. And let's say that we're willing to give up some things for it because it's so good. What about foreign governments? Do they have freedom of speech? We don't give foreign governments freedom of movement in our country for good reasons. We don't give them freedom of employment in our country for a good reason. Why would we give them the freedom of speech on our influencing our people? What about companies? Do companies get freedom of speech? And what about bots? Do bots get freedom of speech? Anyway, I think that one of the most important topics of our society is to figure this out. I hope that we will figure it out. I hope we'll put some effort into it and figure it out, because without it, there'll be lots of corrosive information. And there'll be lots and lots of people who would be following very, very bad advice and doing terrible things to themselves and to society. Okay, so to 2025 being the year of starting to figure out when is information good for us, when is it bad for us, and how should we think about allowing it and regulating it to a better 25.